Hi ladies, we're going to be starting our second strip of the blanket, block 1, and got a copy of the pattern here. This is what it looks like, which is kind of cool. I think it looks like mountains a little bit. Anyways, it's called Shells on Garter Stitch Background. Let's look at the key for a minute. It's crooked, sorry. So we've got stitches, or, purl 2 together, purl 2 stitches together, purl 2 together through the back, or P2 together B, which is purling 2 together through the back. I'll show you how to do that. You've got your lockdown LDY, which is lockdown yarn, which you're familiar with. I did not put out how to do that. You can refresh yourself with my YouTube video if you need to. So again, we're going to read it through like a recipe before we start. Begin square. You're going to cast on 52 stitches. 46 stitches are in the shell pattern. 6 stitches are used for the border. Don't forget to put your markers on for your border stitches, 3 on each side. I would do that when you're first knitting your garter rows to get that out of the way. You're going to knit 4 rows in garter stitch because this is the beginning of a strip, so we need 4 rows. Then you're going to purl 1 row. Okay, don't forget the purl one. Then we'll begin shell pattern. We're going to work until piece measures 12.5 inches from the beginning of the pattern. Work 2 rows in garter stitch. Okay, then that's the end of that block. Okay, here's a tip. Place a marker after the first stitch and last stitch in the row, okay? It's going to look like this. We've got, here's our border, and here's our border marker. Here's our first stitch. So as you can see, it's kind of making a different, it's making a stockinette ridge in between your borders and your pattern. So we want to keep that up. If we don't, it all just kind of runs together and doesn't look as good. So you've got your border marker, then you want your 1 stitch, and then you've got your pattern. Okay, you got your pattern still, and then you're going to come down and 1 stitch before your border marker, you're going to place a marker. There's that 1 stitch. Here's your border marker, and there's your borders. I'm going to move this for a second. Sorry, ladies. This is a little close. Okay. So that explains how the setup should be. Okay. And you can see what that does. Okay, I've got a lot of stuff to go over in this square with you, so I appreciate your patience. So that's your tip. It basically explains that to place your markers. Here's another thing, important. The first time that you're going to work rows 1 through 6, you do not need to lock down yarn because you're only going to be using 1 ball. You do lock down yarn for the rest of the square. So when you come back to row 1 again, you'll be locking down your yarn. And this time you only need to lock down your yarn on your right sides. So here's the pattern. And again, don't worry, I'm going to go through all the details with you. But on your right side with color B, you're just going to knit all your stitches. It's pretty simple. It's just 2 rows are going to be different. Then we've got color B knit. You're going to purl 1. Then you'll knit until your last stitch and purl 1. Basically, these purl ones are these stitches. See, I've set it up so these are different. Okay, so row 3, you'll knit all your stitches. 4, color B, purl 1, knit 1, 5, blah, blah. Same thing. So now we get to our first row of something we're doing different, which is actually this row. I'm on this row. Okay, and it says, with color B, knit 1. So, because we want this to be the same color as our border stitch. If we don't, it's going to look weird with some yellow and some gray. So it says, with color B, you've done your border, you're going to knit 1. Then you're going to lock down your yarn, and with color A, you'll lock it down. You'll take your old, put it over your yellow and start working with your yellow. You'll start the knit 9 shell stitch, repeat to the end, then to the last 3 stitches. And so that means on the last 3 stitches, you're going to knit 2, lock down yarn, and with color B, knit 1. So just kind of keep in mind that on every single row, we're taking this first pattern stitch and last pattern stitch, and they're always going to be color B. They're always going to be the color of our border, okay? So let's see, row 8 is purl 1, or with color B, purl 1, with color A, knit 1, and we don't need to lock down our yarn on the wrong side rows. It doesn't look quite right, so I chose to just do the right side rows. But if you like the way it looks, then you do what works for you. We've got a knit 1, then in our parentheses, we've got purl 2 together through the back 3 times, purl 1, purl 2 together through, just purl 2 together 3 times, knit 7. Repeat to the second to the last stitch, meaning knit 1, and then you'll start with your color B, and you'll purl 1 with color B and finish your borders. It's all pretty self-explanatory once you get it. Just remember to pay attention to what colors you're using, and basically only on rows 7 and 8 and 15 and 16 are the yellow involved at all. But you do always want to lock down those colors on your right side rows, because you need to carry that yellow and the other ball of your regular yarn up with you, so it doesn't look weird and you don't get holes. Okay, so let's see here. So we talked about the lockdown, how you bring it all up. Okay, now we're going to go into the shell stitch, and I will have this on, I'll make a YouTube technique video for it also, so you don't have to listen to this whole thing. First, I'll show you how to purl 2 together through the back. Let's just get that out of the way real quick so that I don't forget that. So purling 2 together through the back, we're going to have our yarn in front just to purl, okay? So here's purling 2 together normally, right? We just put our needle down through the front. So purling 2 through the back is we're just taking our needle and we're going up through to the 2 back stitches. Sorry about that. Through the 2 back stitches. So here we go, right up through there like that. Then we just purl it, pull it through, and there you go. And that gives it a twist. I'm really sorry about how you couldn't see my hands there for a minute. Okay, I'm now going to do a shell stitch. So in the directions on how to do a shell stitch, if you look how to shell stitch under the key, it tells you it's really actually quite overwhelming and scary the first time you read it. With your right hand needle, insert right hand needle into the front of the stitch 5 rows below the 3rd stitch on the left hand needle, and draw the loop through, and then knit 1. Make the 2nd loop, same stitch, knit 1. Make the 3rd loop into the same stitch, knit 1. Make the 4th loop into the same stitch, knit 1, and make the 5th loop into the same stitch, knit 1, and then you make a 6th loop into the same stitch. Okay, I am going to show you and break it down for you so it's not hard and overwhelming. First of all, they want you to go 5 rows down, okay, on the 3rd stitch in. So here's our 3rd stitch in. Well, let me make sure I've knit the right amount here in between. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay, so here's our 3rd stitch in. I'm going to show you how you can tell, and then I'm going to give you a little cheat. So here's what's on our needle. That's 1 stitch. I'm going to pull on this. See, here is a stitch, and then there is a stitch. So that's 1, 2. Then I'm going to pull on that. See, here we go. Do you see that? 1, 2. Can you see the in there? And then you come down here and there's 5. So basically, after you have done your very first row down here, where you actually had to go on row 7, count down 5. And if you don't get exactly 5, and don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. Don't freak out. Okay? But after you've done that first yellow row, now you know that on the 3rd stitch in, you're just going to come down. You're going to come down and you're just going to go right above the yellow stitch. And if you're like, is this the 3rd stitch or the 4th or the 2nd stitch or the 3rd stitch? It doesn't really matter. I mean, in the scheme of things, it's not the end of the world, okay? So here I go. I'm going to say this is my 3rd stitch in, 5 down. See how it's right above the yellow? Okay, I'm just going to go in like this. Take my yarn, knit it just like normal. I'm going to pull it through there, okay? I'm going to pull it, give it some give. Okay, so there I've gone through 1 loop, then I knit 1, okay? Then I'm going to go through the same spot again, knit it, pull it through, give it some give, knit 2. And this is how I can tell where I'm at. I've knit 2. I count it by when I knit. Then I'm going to go through again, pull it through, there, knit 3. Whoops, I went through the wrong spot there, see? And so what am I going to do? I'm going to put that on there. I'm just going to take that out. No big deal. So here I've got, they're in groups. You know how many you've done by your sets, okay? So here is our pull through loop, and here's my knit 1. So there's 1 set. Pull through loop, knit 1, 2 sets. So here I go again, right here. Pull it through, right spot, give it some give, knit 3. Okay, pull it through, give it some give, because it can really get tight. That's why I'm saying give it some. Oh, I've spaced where I'm at. So where am I? I gotta check. So I'm gonna go loop, knit. So 1, loop, knit 2, loop, knit 3, loop, knit 4. Okay, so that's how I know where I'm at. There's 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I just need to go in one more time for my 6th loop, okay? And there I go. So I'm going to count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's my 6th loop, okay? So now I'm going to knit 9. So here we go. I will 2, 9. Okay, there I've knit my 9. Okay, I got to do a shell again. So remember, it's the 3rd stitch in on the needle, and I'm just going to go, I know it's right here, but again, we can look at it. Let's look at it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so here I go. I'm going in there for my loop. Nope, not quite. 2, 3. Okay, I'm gonna just stop this right here because let's pretend I made a mistake and I only knit 8 and not 9. So I'm gonna need to take these out and restart them one stitch down. So all I'm gonna do, it's really easy to take them out. You're just gonna, here I've got one stitch, right? Then I've got a loop, pull that through. Then I've got another stitch, so just knit back, and then I've got a loop, pull that through. So I'm going to leave those there, but that's how you take it back. Okay, it's not a big deal. So I've got one loop, one stitch. One. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. It can get a little tight in here. Again, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm going to take my needle, my yarn, and go like that. I spend a lot of time going, what am I doing here? No, you just take it around and go like that. Okay. So 1, loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, perfect. So now I should have, it says knit 9. And I want to let you know that there's been many times that I've knit this and I've ended up with the wrong number of stitches here. And most of the time, the mistake is in one of these shells. I've either not picked up a stitch not knit a stitch when I thought I had. So, I mean, I've gone back a few times. Okay, so now here we are. We are at this very last stitch. We always want this to be the same color as our border stitch, and it's the last stitch. It's the stitch that says with color B, knit 1. So here we go. I'm going to lock down my yellow, or take the old yarn, the yellow, that I'm not going to use, and put it over my border yarn. I'm going to knit and pull that. And then I'm going to knit my border. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I want to do a shell with you on the way back, just so I can show you a couple things. So this would be row 16. Okay, so here I go. I'm turning it around. Sorry about that. Sorry, ladies. Okay, turning it around. I'm going to knit my border. This needs to come up in here, so that'll be in front. Okay, I'm going to knit my border. Slip my stitch. I'm going to purl. I'm on the wrong side, so this is going to be purled, and it's the same color as my border stitch. It's in the directions, though. It says on row 16, with color B, knit 1 right here. It says lockdown yarn, but actually you don't need to lock down yarn because it's the wrong side. I'll fix that before I send it out to you. Okay, so now we're going to start. Then it says with color A, you're going to knit one. Oh, I did that. Or no, I'm going to knit one, different. Then I'm going to knit 7. 1, 2, 3. 7. Okay, now here we go. This is where it says purl 2 together through the back 3 times. Okay, so here's another problem I've ran into that I want to point out to you. Sometimes these, okay, excuse me, I'm going to take this away for just 1 second while I figure out this. Okay, here we go, back. Okay, so we're going to purl 2 together through the back, but we need to remember that some of these stitches look like one and they're not. So what I learned to do in this before starting my purl stitches, I've separated them. So there's 1, 2, there's 1, here's 1. And sometimes if I can't tell, you can take it and you can just go, okay, that sometimes it's clearer on the other side. So there's that. Because I did spend a lot of time doing, like that could be 1. Put those out. That definitely looks like 1, but it's not. Okay, so that can help a lot. So I'm going to purl 2 together through the back 3 times. So here I go. I'm going to go in through the back. Oh yeah, it'd be great if I put my yarn in front. Okay, through the back. 1, separate. This will save you a lot of heartache, trust me, because I've done it quite a few times. I've worked out all the kinks for you ladies. Here we go. 2. 3. Okay, now it says purl 1. So I'm going to purl 1. Then I'm going to purl 2 together, regular way, 3 times. 1, 2, and then 1, 3. Then you would knit your 7 and do it again. Here's something else I figured out. If on the other side you come to the end and you don't have the right amount of stitches, remember I said it's most likely in your shell that you messed up. Well, let me show you how you can tell too, besides just counting, or besides having to take it out to see. We know that we've done a total of 6 loops, but there's a total of, there's basically a total of 6 pairs. So here we go. 1, see how there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've got 1 in each. You can see what's in there. So I can tell that's right. I've done this right. It is 5 of these that you're going to find. 5. Yep. Okay, so that's just another kind of shortcut, and when you're trying to problem solve on maybe what you've done wrong. Let's see. I think that is what I wanted to show you, kind of how to make sure to separate them, how to do the shell stitch, and yeah, that's the key to it all. Just go slow. You know how to take out. And like I said, I took out a lot and I made a lot of mistakes like the first couple times, okay? Now I'm on a roll, and I don't think that you will probably have those problems if you kind of, you know, take my advice and tips on what you're doing, okay? So, good luck. You can email me. We can set up FaceTime, whatever you need. If you don't want to do this block, you can do the beginner block, which is a different block than what we've ever done. But remember, this is we ended our first strip with color work. So think about how right next to that strip is our second strip. So we're going to start it with color work, and it kind of all is going to aesthetically even out. Okay? Next month will not be color work. So I hope everyone's doing well, and I will hopefully actually see you soon.